The alarm bells rang through the council chambers with a sound that made every alien present freeze in terror. The massive crystal dome that housed the Galactic Council had not heard those bells in over 300 years. Not since the human quarantine began. Ambassador Zixthak's forearms shook as he held the datapad. His purple skin had turned almost white with fear. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 different species waited in deadly silence. The floating jellyfish-like Medusans dimmed their natural glow. The rock-hard granite kings stopped their usual rumbling conversations. Even the proud warrior race called the Bloodfang sat perfectly still. "Speak," commanded High Counselor Vextar from the center of the chamber. Her voice echoed off the crystal walls. As leader of the most powerful military force in the galaxy, she had never shown fear before. But today, even her scaled reptilian face showed worry lines. Zixthak's voice cracked as he began to read. "Long-range sensors have detected human vessels beyond the Sol System quarantine zone." The chamber erupted. 47 different species all began talking, screaming, or making whatever noise they made when terrified. The translator systems overloaded trying to keep up with all the different languages. Silence. Vextar's roar shook the entire dome. Slowly, the noise died down. "How many ships?" "3 vessels, High Counselor. They appeared on our sensors 6 hours ago near the Proxima Junction. Our patrol fleet has not made contact yet." General Kraltok of the Bloodfang stood up. His red fur bristled with anger. "Then we destroy them, just like we should have done 3 centuries ago." Half the chamber agreed with loud roars and battle cries. The other half looked even more terrified. Vextar raised one clawed hand for silence. "Fool, did you forget why we built the quarantine in the first place?" Kraltok's anger faded. His ears dropped. Like everyone else in the chamber, he remembered the stories. The horror stories that parents told their children to make them behave. The true stories about what humans could do. 300 years ago, the galaxy had made first contact with Earth. It should have been simple. The humans were primitive. They had just invented faster-than-light travel. Their weapons were basic. Their technology was thousands of years behind the galactic standard. The Hegemony fleet had approached Earth with confidence. Admiral Zekron commanded over 200 warships. He planned to offer the humans a simple choice: join the galaxy as a servant species, or be destroyed. The humans chose a third option. They fought back. What happened next still gave galactic military commanders nightmares. The humans did not fight like any civilized species. They did not follow the rules of war. They did not surrender when clearly beaten. Instead, they turned their entire solar system into a weapon. The humans strapped engines to asteroids and launched them at the Hegemony fleet. They hid bombs inside fake surrender signals. They sent their own ships on suicide runs, using them as guided missiles. When their weapons ran out, they rammed enemy ships with their bare hulls. But the worst part was not how they fought. It was how they thought. Every human seemed to understand tactics that took other species years to learn. Human children sent messages to the Hegemony fleet that contained detailed battle plans. Human artists created propaganda that broke enemy morale in hours. Human farmers built weapons in their barns that could destroy starships. The humans lost that war. Earth's military was destroyed. Most of their cities were bombed. Millions died, but they took 60% of the Hegemony fleet with them. Admiral Zekron survived only because he fled. When he returned to report to the Council, he brought a recommendation that shocked everyone. Quarantine the entire Sol system. Never let humans spread to other worlds. They are not like us, he had said, his voice empty of emotion. Every human is a potential general. Every human child thinks like a weapons designer. They do not see war as something soldiers do. They see war as something everyone does. If they ever spread to other worlds, if they ever have time to grow and learn, they will not conquer the galaxy. They will become the galaxy. The Council had voted to approve the quarantine. They surrounded the Sol system with military bases and warning beacons. They told the galaxy that humans were too dangerous to exist outside their home system. Most species agreed. For 300 years, the quarantine had held. Long-range sensors showed that human civilization had rebuilt. Their technology improved, but they stayed in their solar system, cut off from the galaxy. Until now. High Counselor, said Ambassador Yilseth of the Trade Federation. Her blue skin was pale with worry. What if they have been preparing? The question hung in the air like poison gas. Everyone knew what she meant. 300 years was a long time, long enough for the humans to study every weapon they had captured from the Hegemony fleet, long enough to learn from their defeat, long enough to plan. The patrol fleet should have made contact by now, Zixthak said, looking at his datapad. But there has been no signal. Vextar stood up slowly. Her massive form cast shadows across the chamber. Send a message to all military commanders. Raise the alert level to maximum. And contact the Hegemony High Command. Tell them the humans are coming. As if summoned by her words, a new alarm began to sound. This one was different. It was the communication alert. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a human face. Every alien in the room gasped. Many jumped back. Some reached for weapons they did not carry in the council chambers. The human was female with dark skin and short black hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with no weapons visible. She looked completely normal, completely harmless. That made her even more terrifying. "Greetings, Galactic Council," the human said in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was calm and polite. "My name is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Indomitable. I bring greetings from Earth and a request for peaceful contact." The chamber was dead silent. Even the background hum of the air system seemed too loud. "We know that our species has a complicated history with the galaxy," Captain Chen continued. "We wish to discuss the possibility of ending the quarantine and establishing normal diplomatic relations." General Kraltok found his voice first. "What happened to our patrol fleet?" Captain Chen's expression did not change. "They attempted to force our ships to surrender. We disabled their weapons and engines but caused no casualties. They are unharmed but immobilized. We consider this a demonstration of our peaceful intentions." "You destroyed an entire patrol fleet?" Vextar's voice was barely a whisper. "We disabled them," Captain Chen corrected. "Your crews are safe. However, we should point out that your patrol fleet attacked first. Under galactic law, we had the right to defend ourselves. We chose mercy instead." The word mercy hit the chamber like a physical blow. The humans had shown mercy. They could have destroyed the patrol fleet. They chose not to, which meant they were confident they could have won. "What do you want?" Vextar asked. "Permission to address the council in person. We believe it is time for Earth to take its place in galactic civilization. We have much to offer. And if we refuse?" Captain Chen's smile was small and cold. "Then we will respect your decision and return to Earth. But the quarantine is over, High Counselor. We will not be prisoners in our own solar system any longer. The galaxy is vast. There is room for all of us." The transmission ended. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Ambassador Yilseth asked the question everyone was thinking. What if they are not the same humans we fought 300 years ago? What if they have evolved? Vextar looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. She thought about the reports from the quarantine zone. 300 years of radio signals that showed human civilization growing stronger and more advanced. 300 years of isolation and preparation. "Send a message to Earth," she said finally. Tell them they may address the council. Schedule it for 1 week from today." As the council session ended and the various ambassadors filed out, Vexatar remained alone in the chamber. She looked up at the crystal dome above her head, beyond which lay the vast galaxy that had known peace for 3 centuries. Soon, humans would walk these halls again. Humans who had spent 300 years learning from their defeat. Humans who had disabled an entire patrol fleet without breaking a sweat. Humans who had called it mercy. Vextar closed her eyes and tried not to think about what Earth's ultimate warriors might look like after 3 centuries of preparation. Outside the chamber, emergency messages flew across the galaxy at light speed. Military bases went to high alert. Defense fleets moved to battle positions. Emergency sessions convened on 1,000 different worlds. The humans were coming, and this time the galaxy was not sure it could stop them. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the alien fleet approach. 12 massive warships moved in perfect formation toward her single vessel. Each enemy ship was 3 times larger than her own. Their weapons could turn the Indomitable into space dust in seconds. Sarah was not worried. "Captain," said Lieutenant James Park from the sensor station, "the lead ship is hailing us. Put them on screen." The main display showed the bridge of the alien flagship. Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony Navy sat in a command chair that looked more like a throne. His gray skin was covered in scars from old battles. His yellow eyes glowed with anger. Human vessel. Kethvar's voice boomed through the speakers. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction. Sarah smiled politely. Admiral Kethvar, I am Captain Sarah Chen. We are on a diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. We have committed no crimes and violated no laws. You have violated the quarantine by leaving your system. A quarantine we never agreed to. A quarantine that violates our basic rights as a sentient species. Sarah's voice remained calm. We wish to pass peacefully. Admiral Kethvar leaned forward. You have no choice, human. You will surrender or you will die. I see. Sarah looked at her crew. Each human on the bridge continued working at their stations as if nothing had happened. May I ask you a question, Admiral? Speak quickly. Have you ever studied human history? Kethavar's scarred face showed confusion. What does that matter? Well, you see, humans have a saying. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Sarah's smile grew wider. Your people tried this exact same approach 300 years ago. It did not work out well for them. That was different, Kethvar snarled. You were fighting for your homeworld then. Now you are alone in deep space with one ship. Actually, Admiral, we have 3 ships. 3 ships against my 12? Kethvar laughed. You're either insane or stupid. Perhaps. Or perhaps you have not been paying attention. Sarah nodded to her communications officer. Lieutenant Walsh, please show the Admiral what happened to his patrol fleet. The display split in half. On one side, Admiral Kethvar's angry face. On the other side, images of 12 disabled Hegemony ships floating dead in space. As you can see, Sarah continued, we encountered a similar force yesterday. They also demanded our surrender. The result was unfortunate for them. Kethavar's eyes widened as he studied the images. The patrol ships were intact but completely powerless. No explosions, no debris. Just 12 warships floating helplessly in the void. How? He whispered. Trade secret, I'm afraid. The point is, Admiral, that we really do prefer peaceful solutions. We could have destroyed your patrol fleet. We chose not to. We could destroy your fleet right now. We prefer not to. Impossible. Kethavar stood up from his throne. You have 1 ship. Actually, we have 3 ships. And Admiral? Sarah's smile disappeared. We have something your people forgot to account for. What? 300 years. Sarah made a small gesture. Instantly, every human on the bridge began moving with perfect coordination. It was like watching a single organism with multiple parts. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across his sensor controls. Targeting solutions acquired. Weapons. Ready, reported Commander Torres from the tactical station. Electronic warfare package. Loaded, added Lieutenant Walsh. Engine room standing. I for emergency power, came engineer. Rodriguez's voice over the intercom. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing confusion. The humans had moved so quickly and smoothly that he barely saw it happen. One moment they were standing casually at their stations. The next moment they were clearly ready for battle. What are you doing? He demanded. Oh, this? Sarah gestured around her bridge. We call it Tuesday. Tuesday? It's a day of the week, Admiral. This level of coordination is what human children learn in school. Basic stuff, really. That was when Kethvar noticed something that made his blood run cold. Every human on the bridge was smiling, not the cruel smile of warriors eager for battle, not the desperate grin of soldiers facing death. They were smiling like people who were about to show off a really impressive magic trick. Admiral, Sarah said gently, I'm going to give you a choice. You can order your fleet to power down weapons and allow us to pass, or you can try to stop us. But before you decide, you should know something important. What? Every human on this ship has studied your military tactics since childhood. We know how your ships work, how your weapons function, how your crew thinks. We have had 300 years to prepare for this exact moment. Sarah's smile returned. We have been practicing. Admiral Kethvar looked at his own tactical display. His 12 ships surrounded the human vessel. His weapons were charged and ready. He had numerical superiority and overwhelming firepower. So why did he feel like he was the one trapped? You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Lieutenant Park, Sarah said without taking her eyes off Kethvar. Show the Admiral our friends. The display changed. It now showed space around the Hegemony fleet. At first, Kethvar saw nothing unusual. Then his tactical officer began shouting, "Admiral! Multiple contacts!" They just appeared on sensors. 2 more human ships materialized out of nowhere. They had been there all along, hidden somehow from the Hegemony's advanced sensors. Now they hung in space like wolves that had surrounded a herd of sheep. "Cloaking technology," Kethvar whispered. "Not exactly," Sarah corrected. "We call it paying attention to your blind spots. Your sensors are very advanced, Admiral. Unfortunately, they have predictable patterns. We simply positioned our ships where your systems don't look." Kethvar's tactical officer continued his panicked report. "Admiral, the human ships have targeting locks on all our vessels." "How is that possible?" "We never detected them approaching." Sarah tilted her head. "Admiral, may I share something with you? A lesson from human history?" Kethvar nodded numbly. There was once a human military leader named Sun Tzu. He wrote a book about warfare 2,500 years ago. One of his most famous quotes was, "All warfare is based on deception." Another was, "Supreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." Sarah paused to let that sink in. "The thing is, Admiral, every human child reads that book in school. Every human grows up thinking about strategy and tactics. Not just soldiers, all of us. Engineers study how to disable enemy ships without destroying them. Artists learn how to confuse enemy sensors. Farmers understand supply line logistics better than most galactic military commanders." The bridge around her seemed to pulse with quiet energy. Every human continued their work with calm efficiency, as if disabling an entire enemy fleet was just another day at the office. "So here's what's going to happen," Sarah continued. "You have 30 seconds to order your fleet to power down weapons and withdraw. If you don't, we will disable every ship in your fleet just like we did to the patrol force. And if I refuse," Sarah's smile became genuinely sad, "then you will learn why the galaxy put us under quarantine in the first place. And Admiral, I really hope you don't refuse. We've spent 300 years learning how to fight better. We'd rather not have to show you everything we've learned." Admiral Kethvar looked at his tactical display again. 3 human ships against his 12. It should be an easy victory. But those 3 human ships had appeared from nowhere. They had perfect targeting solutions on his entire fleet. And the humans were talking like this was just a minor inconvenience. Worse, he remembered the stories from the First War. Stories about humans who fought like demons. Stories about human children who outsmarted veteran commanders. Stories about a species that turned warfare into an art form. "Admiral," his tactical officer whispered, "I'm reading massive energy buildups from all 3 human vessels. Whatever they're planning to do, they're about to do it." Kethvar closed his eyes. When he opened them, Captain Chen was still smiling that patient, almost pitying smile. 20 seconds, Admiral." Kethvar thought about his crew. Good soldiers who had families waiting for them at home. He thought about his own career, his own pride, his own reputation. Then he thought about floating helplessly in space while humans showed the galaxy exactly what 300 years of preparation looked like. "All ships," he said quietly. "Power down weapons. Withdraw to minimum safe distance." "An excellent choice," Sarah said. "Your crew will live to see their families again. That's worth more than pride, don't you think?" As the Hegemony fleet pulled back, Admiral Kethvar had one last question. "Captain Chen, what are you people now? What did 300 years turn you into?" Sarah's expression became serious for the first time. "We're still human, Admiral. We still want peace. We still prefer mercy to violence, but—" She paused, looking out at the stars beyond her view screen. "But we learned something during our isolation. We learned that if you want peace, you have to be prepared for war. If you want mercy to be respected, you have to be capable of justice. And if you want to be left alone," her smile returned cold and sharp as winter, "you have to be too dangerous to attack." The transmission ended. Admiral Kethvar watched the 3 human ships disappear into hyperspace, heading for the galactic capital. He sat in his command chair for a long time, thinking about what he had just witnessed. Then he sent a message to Hegemony High Command. "The humans are not what they were 300 years ago. They are something new, something we have never seen before. Recommend immediate consultation with the Galactic Council. Do not engage human vessels under any circumstances. Repeat, do not engage." As his fleet limped back to base, Kethvar could not stop thinking about Captain Chen's final words. The humans wanted to be left alone, but they were heading for the galactic capital. which meant they were tired of being alone, and after what he had just seen, Kethavar was not sure the galaxy was ready for what the humans had become. The fortress world of Nexus Prime had never seen anything like it. For 800 years, the massive space station had served as the capital of galactic civilization. Its crystal spires housed the Galactic Council. Its defensive platforms could destroy entire fleets. Its diplomatic quarters had welcomed representatives from every known species in the galaxy. But today, as 3 human ships approached through hyperspace, even the ancient station seemed to hold its breath. Station Commander Veltran stood in the primary control center, watching his tactical displays with growing unease. His insectoid features twitched nervously as more and more ships arrived in the system. "Commander," reported his aide, "the Hegemony Third Fleet has taken position at coordinates 77 Mark IV. Acknowledged. What about the consortium forces? 12 battle groups holding at the edge of the system. The Granite King Armada is moving into defensive positions around the station itself." Veltran's 4 eyes tracked the movements on his display. Over 300 warships from a dozen different species now surrounded Nexus Prime, the largest military gathering in galactic history. All because 3 human ships were coming to talk. "Sir," another technician called out, "we're receiving multiple requests for landing clearance. It seems half the galaxy wants to witness this meeting." "Deny all non-essential traffic," Veltran ordered. "This station is already at maximum capacity." That was true. Every ambassador, every military observer, every journalist who could claim any legitimate reason to be present had found their way to Nexus Prime. The station's guest quarters were packed beyond capacity. Ships waited in long queues for docking clearance. Everyone wanted to see the humans. "Commander," his aide spoke again, "we're getting reports from our perimeter scouts. The human ships should drop out of hyperspace in approximately 1 hour. Veltran nodded grimly. 1 hour until the galaxy learned what humanity had become after 3 centuries of isolation. The reports from Admiral Kethavar had spread like wildfire through military channels. 3 human ships had disabled an entire Hegemony patrol fleet without breaking a sweat. They had outmaneuvered and outthought one of the galaxy's most experienced admirals. But those were just reports. Rumors. Stories that grew more frightening with each telling. Today, the galaxy would see the truth. "Sir," a technician's voice cracked with excitement. "Hyperspace signatures detected. 3 ships dropping to normal space." The main display changed to show the outer system. Space seemed to shimmer, and then 3 vessels appeared as if materializing from nothing. Veltran leaned forward to study them. The human ships were smaller than he had expected, sleek and elegant, with smooth curves that seemed almost artistic. They looked more like sculptures than warships. "Those are their diplomatic vessels?" he asked. "That's what they told us, sir." "Run a full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about those ships." For several minutes, the station's powerful sensors probed the approaching human vessels. Slowly, data began to appear on the screens. "Commander," the sensor operator said, his voice puzzled, "I'm getting some very strange readings." "Explain." "Well, sir, the ships appear to be civilian transports. No visible weapons. Minimal shielding. Basic engines, but what? The energy signatures don't match. These ships are putting out power readings that suggest military-grade systems. And there are some kind of modifications, structural changes that don't appear in our ship databases." Veltran studied the technical readouts. The human ships looked harmless. Too harmless, which, given humanity's reputation, made them infinitely more dangerous. "Open a communication channel." The display showed the bridge of the lead human vessel. A woman in a simple gray uniform sat in the captain's chair. She appeared to be in her 40s with brown hair and calm eyes. Nothing about her suggested she was anything other than a normal civilian, which was exactly what made Veltran nervous. "Nexus Prime Control. This is Ambassador Elena Vasquez aboard the UES Harmony." We request permission to dock and address the Galactic Council as scheduled. Permission granted, Ambassador. You are cleared for docking Bay 7. Please be aware that security protocols are in effect. Understood. We appreciate the Council's willingness to meet with us. The transmission ended. Veltron continued to watch as the 3 human ships moved toward the station with perfect precision. Their flight patterns were flawless. No wasted movement. No unnecessary corrections. Like everything they did, it looked effortless. Commander. His aide approached with a data pad. We've received the passenger manifest from the human ships. 300 humans total across all 3 vessels. 300? Veltran was surprised. That's a rather large diplomatic delegation. Yes, sir, and sir? The passenger list is unusual. Veltran took the datapad and read through the names and occupations. His confusion grew with each entry. Dr. Sarah Kim, Pediatric Surgeon and Tactical Systems Analyst. Professor James Wright. Literature Teacher and Logistics Coordinator, Maria Santos. Agricultural Engineer and Combat Strategist, David Chen. Artist and Communications Specialist, the list went on. Teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers, artists, scientists. A normal cross-section of human society, except each person had 2 job titles, and the second title was always something military. Sir, the aide said quietly, every human on those ships appears to have both a civilian profession and a military specialty. Veltron felt a chill run down his spine. All of them? Yes, sir. Even the children on the passenger list have training certifications in various military disciplines. Children. The humans had brought children to what was essentially a military confrontation. Unless... Commander. The sensor operator's voice was urgent. I'm detecting additional ships. What, where? Unknown, sir. The signatures are faint, but there are definitely more vessels in the system. I count at least 12 contacts, possibly more. Show me. The tactical display updated, showing ghostly sensor contacts scattered throughout the system. Ships that were barely visible to the station's sensors. Ships that seemed to appear and disappear like phantoms. How long have they been there? Veltran demanded. Unknown, sir. They could have been here for hours. Our sensors can barely detect them. Veltran stared at the display. More human ships hidden throughout the system. Ships that had somehow infiltrated past all the military vessels surrounding Nexus Prime. Sir, another technician reported, we're receiving priority communications from the Hegemony fleet. Admiral Torgak wants to know if we're aware of the additional human vessels. Tell the Admiral that we are investigating. But Veltran knew there was nothing to investigate. The humans had played the same trick they had used on Admiral Kethvar. They had hidden ships in plain sight, using methods that the galaxy's best sensors could barely detect. The question was why. Commander, the docking control operator called out. The human ships are requesting permission to begin disembarkation. Granted. Full security escort to the council chambers. As the human delegation prepared to leave their ships, Veltron watched the sensor display showing the ghost contacts throughout the system. 12 ships, maybe more. The humans had said they were bringing a diplomatic delegation. 300 people to address the council, but they had also brought a fleet. A hidden fleet that had somehow bypassed the largest military gathering in galactic history. Sir, his aide said nervously, should we alert the council about the additional ships? Veltran considered this. If he reported the hidden vessels, it would cause panic. The assembled military forces might start shooting. And if the humans had hidden 12 ships this easily, how many more were out there? No, he decided. We monitor the situation, but we don't escalate. The humans came here to talk. Let's see what they have to say. As the first humans began walking through Nexus Prime's corridors, Veltran couldn't shake the feeling that everything had changed. These weren't the desperate, isolated humans from 3 centuries ago. These were people who had spent generations preparing for this moment. People who brought children to diplomatic meetings. People who hid military fleets in plain sight. People who treated the galaxy's greatest fortress like a routine stop on a peaceful journey. Commander, the sensor operator said quietly. I'm detecting more energy signatures from the human ships in dock. It's almost like they're scanning the station. Scanning for what? Unknown, sir. But the scans are very thorough. They're mapping our entire structure. Veltran closed his 4 eyes and tried to calm his racing thoughts. The humans were scanning Nexus Prime, learning its layout, studying its defenses. Either they were being very cautious about their security, or they were planning something. Sir, another voice called out, the human delegation has reached the council chambers. Ambassador Vasquez is ready to address the assembly. On the main display, Veltran could see the council chamber filling with representatives from across the galaxy. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species, all gathered to hear what humanity had to say. In the center of the chamber, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood calmly at the speaker's podium. She looked exactly like what she claimed to be, a diplomat seeking peaceful relations. But somewhere in the system, hidden human ships waited in the darkness. And on those ships, 300 humans with dual specialties prepared for whatever came next. Veltran had been station commander for 30 years. He had seen diplomatic crises, military standoffs, and trade wars. He thought he understood how the galaxy worked. But as he watched Ambassador Vasquez begin her speech to the council, he realized that everything he thought he knew was about to change. The humans had spent 300 years in isolation. Now they were ready to show the galaxy what they had learned. And Veltran had the terrible feeling that the galaxy was not ready for the lesson. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the council chamber and looked up at thousands of alien faces staring down at her. The massive amphitheater could hold representatives from every species in the galaxy, and today it was completely full. She was not nervous. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. I come before you today not as a conqueror but as a neighbor, not as an enemy, but as someone who hopes to become a friend. High Counselor Vexitar leaned forward in her elevated seat. Ambassador Vasquez, your species has been under quarantine for 300 years. The Council needs to understand what humanity has become during that time. Of course. That's exactly why we're here. Elena smiled warmly. We want you to understand that humans have grown and changed. We have learned from our past mistakes. We seek only peaceful coexistence with our galactic neighbors. General Kraltok of the Bloodfangs stood up. His red fur bristled with anger. Pretty words. But our patrol fleets report that you disabled our ships without warning. With respect, General, your ships fired first. We simply defended ourselves. And please note that we could have destroyed those vessels. We chose not to. We believe this demonstrates our peaceful intentions. Or it demonstrates that you have grown more dangerous, rumbled Ambassador Sektar of the Granite. Seems I'm more capable of causing harm when you choose. Elena nodded thoughtfully. You may be right, Ambassador. We are certainly more capable than we were 3 centuries ago. But capability and intent are different things. A surgeon's scalpel can kill, but its purpose is to heal. The debate continued for 2 hours. Elena answered every question with patience and diplomacy. She spoke about trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. She painted a picture of a humanity that had matured during its isolation and now sought to contribute to galactic civilization. But many council members remained skeptical. They remembered the stories from the First Contact War. They had seen the reports from Admiral Kethvar's encounter with human ships. Ambassador, High Counselor Vextar said finally, your words are reassuring. But words are easy. How can we trust that humanity has truly changed? Elena opened her mouth to answer, but before she could speak, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. The council chamber's security shields activated. Armed guards rushed to protective positions around the important delegates. High Counselor Vextar's communication device crackled to life. High Counselor, this is Station Commander Veltran. We have a situation. A consortium battle fleet has just dropped out of hyperspace and is moving toward the station. They are not responding to communication attempts. Elena remained calm at the speaker's podium while chaos erupted around her. Council members were shouting questions and demands. Security forces were establishing defensive positions. Some delegates were calling for immediate evacuation. How many ships? Vextar demanded. 57 vessels, High Counselor, including 12 dreadnoughts. They appear to be fully armed and moving in attack formation. The consortium. Elena knew about them from the intelligence briefings. A militant alliance of species that believed in galactic dominance through military force. They had opposed humanity's invitation to address the council. Apparently, they had decided to solve the human problem permanently. High Counselor, Elena said, her voice cutting through the noise in the chamber. I request permission to contact my ships. Your ships? Vextar's scales shifted color with stress. Ambassador, you brought 3 civilian transports. They cannot help against a consortium battle fleet. Elena's smile was small and sad. High Counselor, with respect, you still don't understand what humanity has become. She activated her personal communicator. Harmony, this is Ambassador Vasquez. Please respond to the current tactical situation. The reply came instantly. Acknowledged, Ambassador. We have been monitoring the approaching vessels. Recommend immediate implementation of Protocol 7. Approved. Show them what 300 years looks like. Elena turned back to the council. I suggest everyone remain calm. This situation will be resolved shortly. Resolved? General Kraltok snarled. How can 3 transport ships resolve anything against 57 warships? General, Elena said patiently. Those aren't transport ships. The main display in the council chamber switched to show external views of the battle. What the delegates saw made many of them gasp in shock. The 3 human transport ships were changing. Hull panels slid away to reveal weapon systems. Sensor arrays unfolded like mechanical flowers. Shield generators that had been hidden inside the ship's structure came online with brilliant flashes of energy. In 30 seconds, 3 civilian transports became 3 of the most advanced warships the galaxy had ever seen. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was what happened next. Space around Nexus Prime suddenly filled with human vessels. Ships that had been completely invisible to sensors materialized out of nothing. Not 12 ships as the station had detected. Not 20. 47 human warships appeared simultaneously throughout the system. They had been there all along. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Yilseth. Our sensors. How did they hide so many ships? Elena's expression remained peaceful. We had a lot of time to study your technology, Ambassador. We learned how your sensors work. We learned how to be invisible. The tactical display showed the human fleet moving with perfect coordination. They didn't attack the approaching consortium forces. Instead, they simply positioned themselves. In minutes, the human ships had created a sphere around the consortium fleet. Every enemy vessel found itself targeted by multiple human warships. Station Commander Veltran, Elena said into her communicator. Please open a channel to the consortium fleet. The main display showed the bridge of the consortium flagship. Admiral Rektan, a massive reptilian warrior, stared out at the human ships surrounding his fleet. Consortium forces, Elena said calmly. You are trespassing in neutral space and threatening a diplomatic meeting. Please withdraw immediately. Admiral Rektan's laughter was like the sound of breaking stones. You dare threaten us, human? We came here to eliminate the threat you pose to galactic order. Admiral, we pose no threat to anyone. We seek only peaceful relations. Lies. Your species is a disease that must be cleansed from the galaxy. Elena sighed. Very well. Admiral, are you familiar with human military history? What does that matter? There was a human military leader named Patton who once said, I don't want to get any messages saying I am holding my position. We are not holding a goddamned thing. Let the Germans do that. We are advancing constantly. The point being, Admiral, that humans prefer to attack rather than defend. You have 50 ships. We have 57. Actually, Admiral, we have 73 ships. You missed a few. Elena's smile never wavered. But that's not the important part. What is the important part? The important part is that every single human on every single ship has been preparing for this exact scenario for their entire lives. The council chamber had gone completely silent. Even the alarms had stopped. Every delegate, every guard, every technician was watching the confrontation. Elena continued speaking to Admiral Rektan. You see, Admiral, after the First War we realized something important. If the galaxy was going to fear us anyway, we might as well give them a good reason. She paused, letting that sink in. So we spent 300 years turning our entire civilization into the finest military force in galactic history. Not just our soldiers, all of us. Every human child studies tactics with their mathematics. Every human artist understands psychological warfare. Every human farmer knows logistics and supply lines. The camera view split to show human ship bridges. On each one, Elena could see normal-looking people working at their stations. Teachers, doctors, engineers, artists. They looked like ordinary civilians, except they moved with the precision of elite military units. You brought children to this meeting, Admiral Rektan said, his voice uncertain for the first time. Yes, human children begin strategic training at age 5. By age 10, they can outthink most galactic military commanders. By age 15, they're qualified to captain starships. Elena gestured to the tactical display. Every person on our ships right now has both a civilian profession and a military specialty. Dr. Kim is a pediatric surgeon who also happens to be one of our best tactical analysts. Professor Wright teaches literature and coordinates fleet logistics. Maria Santos grows food and designs battle strategies. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just brought a diplomatic delegation. They had brought 300 of their ultimate warriors. And their ultimate warriors were everyone. This is impossible, Admiral Rektan said, but his voice lacked conviction. No, Admiral. This is what 300 years of preparation looks like. This is what happens when an entire species decides to become very, very good at warfare. Elena's voice remained gentle, almost motherly. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to order your fleet to withdraw. You're going to go home and tell your leaders that the humans are back. And we're exactly as dangerous as you feared we would be. And if I refuse, Elena's smile finally faded. Then you will discover that mercy is a choice, Admiral. And you will learn exactly why the galaxy quarantined us in the first place. For a long moment, nobody moved. Two fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. The largest military gathering in galactic history watched and waited. Then Admiral Rektan spoke a single word. Withdraw. The consortium fleet turned and fled. As the enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace, Elena turned back to the council. The chamber was still dead silent. As I was saying, she continued as if nothing had happened. Humanity seeks peaceful relations with all galactic species. We have much to offer in terms of trade, technology, and cultural exchange. High Counselor Vexistar found her voice first. Ambassador, what are you people? Elena's warm smile returned. We're still human, High Counselor. We still want peace. We still prefer diplomacy to war, but... She paused, looking around at the thousands of frightened faces. But we learned something during our quarantine. If you want peace, you must be prepared for war. If you want to be left alone, you must be too dangerous to attack. And if you want to protect the things you love... She gestured to the tactical display where human ships were already disappearing back into invisibility. You must become very good at making other people leave you alone. The council session continued for another 3 hours. By the end, humanity had been granted full membership in galactic civilization, not because the aliens trusted them, but because they were too terrified to say no. 6 months after the events at Nexus Prime, the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in her new office on the diplomatic level of the galactic capital. Through her window she could see ships from dozens of species coming and going from the station's docking bays. Trade ships, diplomatic vessels, military patrols. The normal business of galactic civilization, but everything was different now. Her aide, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, entered with the daily intelligence reports. Ambassador, we have updates from the various sectors. Go ahead. Sarah, the Hegemony has officially withdrawn all military vessels from the former quarantine zone around Earth. They're calling it a gesture of goodwill and respect for human sovereignty. Elena smiled. And the real reason? Admiral Kethvar's report recommended against any military presence within 10 light-years of human space. He used the phrase tactically inadvisable 17 times in his official filing. Elena nodded. That sounded like the Admiral. His encounter with Captain Chen had left him with a healthy respect for human capabilities. What about the consortium? Complete reorganization of their military command structure. They've replaced Admiral Recton and implemented new protocols for engaging unknown vessels. Also, they've formally requested a non-aggression pact with Earth. Interesting. They went from trying to destroy us to wanting peace treaties in 6 months. Yes, ma'am. Our intelligence suggests they've been running computer simulations of the engagement at Nexus Prime. Their analysts concluded that we could have destroyed their entire fleet in under 4 minutes, if we had chosen to. Elena leaned back in her chair. The truth was, the computer simulations were probably correct. The human fleet had been holding back significantly during that confrontation. Any word from the outer colonies? That's the interesting part, Ambassador. We're getting reports of human settlements in previously unexplored systems. Apparently some of our people left Earth decades ago and have been quietly establishing colonies throughout the galaxy. Elena raised an eyebrow. How many colonies? Current estimates suggest at least 47 settled worlds. Possibly more. 47? Elena was genuinely surprised. How did they manage that without being detected? Same way we hid the fleet at Nexus Prime, apparently. They learned to be invisible. This was news to Elena. She had known about a few deep space missions that had left Earth during the quarantine period. But 47 colonies. That meant there were millions of humans scattered across the galaxy. Humans who had been preparing for this moment just as long as those on Earth. Ma'am, Sarah continued, there's something else. The Galactic Council has received formal applications for membership from 12 of these colony worlds. All at the same time? Yes, ma'am. Apparently they've been coordinating with each other and with Earth. When we ended the quarantine, it was a signal for all human settlements to reveal themselves. Elena stood up and walked to her window. The implications were staggering. The galaxy had thought they were dealing with one isolated human world. Instead, they were facing a widespread human civilization that had been growing and preparing in secret for 3 centuries. Sarah, what's the current estimate of total human population? Unknown, ma'am. But based on the colony reports, we're looking at approximately 50 million humans across 49 known worlds. 50 million. That was 10 times larger than anyone in the galaxy had suspected, and they all have the same educational system as Earth. According to the reports, yes, ma'am. Every human colony has maintained the dual specialty training programs. Every civilian is also a military specialist. Elena shook her head in amazement. Humanity hadn't just survived the quarantine. They had used it as an opportunity to spread across the galaxy and prepare for their eventual return to galactic civilization. Ma'am, Sarah said quietly, there's one more thing. We've received a priority message from Dr. Chen on the science vessel Endeavor. Dr. Chen. Elena remembered her from the passenger manifest. A pediatric surgeon and tactical analyst who had been part of the original delegation to Nexus Prime. What's her report? She's requesting immediate consultation with Earth Command. Her ship has made contact with something unusual. Unusual how? Sarah activated the wall display. Dr. Chen's face appeared, but the image was fuzzy and distorted. Ambassador Vasquez, this is Dr. Chen. We've encountered something that requires immediate attention. We're sending this message via emergency protocols because normal communications are being interfered with. The image flickered and stabilized. Ma'am, we've made contact with another species, but they're not like the ones in the Galactic Council. They're different, more advanced, and they've been watching the galaxy for a very long time. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Watching the galaxy? Yes, ma'am. They call themselves the Observers. They've been monitoring galactic civilization for over 10,000 years. An ambassador, they've been especially interested in humanity. The transmission became more garbled. They know about the quarantine. They know about our preparations. They know about the colonies. And, ma'am, they're impressed. The image cleared for a moment, and Elena could see Dr. Chen's worried expression. Ambassador, the Observers want to meet with human leadership. Not the Galactic Council, just us. They say they have a proposition. Something about joining a larger community. The transmission cut out. Elena stared at the blank screen for several minutes. Sarah stood quietly beside her, waiting for instructions. Sarah, Elena said finally, send a message to Earth Command. Full encryption. Tell them we have a new situation. Yes, ma'am. What should I tell them about the nature of the situation? Elena turned back to the window, looking out at the busy traffic around the station. Ships from dozens of species, all going about their daily business. All part of a galactic civilization that thought it understood how the universe worked. Tell them, Elena said slowly, that we may not be the ultimate warriors after all. As Sarah left to send the message, Elena remained at the window. She thought about the past 6 months, about how the galaxy had struggled to adapt to humanity's return, about the fear in alien eyes when they looked at human children who could outthink military commanders. The galaxy had been terrified to learn what 300 years of isolation had turned humanity into. But now it Seemed that humanity itself was about to learn something new. There were others out there, others who had been watching and waiting, others who might be even more advanced than the civilization that had quarantined Earth 3 centuries ago. Elena smiled grimly. Humanity had spent 300 years preparing to rejoin galactic civilization. They had turned every human into a warrior scholar, every child into a strategic thinker, every civilian into a military specialist. It had been exactly the preparation they needed, for the galaxy they knew about. But if Dr. Chen's report was accurate, there was a larger universe beyond the Galactic Council. A community of species that made the current galaxy look primitive by comparison. Elena activated her personal communicator. "This is Ambassador Vasquez. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha." "Channel open, Ambassador." "Director Martinez, this is Elena. We have a situation. How quickly can we get our best people out here?" "What kind of situation, Ambassador?" Elena looked out at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere out there the observers were waiting. Beings who had watched galactic civilization for 10,000 years. Beings who wanted to meet with humanity specifically. "The kind of situation we spent 300 years preparing for," she said. "Except it's bigger than we thought. How much bigger?" Elena thought about Dr. Chen's report. About species that were to the current galaxy what the galaxy had been to primitive Earth. About a universe that was larger and more complex than anyone had imagined. "Director, remember how we used the quarantine to spread across the galaxy and prepare for our return?" "Of course." "Well, it turns out we weren't the only ones with that idea. There are others out there, others who have been preparing much longer than we have." There was a long pause. "Are they hostile?" "Unknown. But, Director, they're impressed with us. They want to meet. They think we might be ready to join something bigger than the Galactic Council." Another pause. "Elena, are you telling me that humanity's return to galactic civilization was just the first step?" Elena smiled as she watched a human transport ship dock at the station. Through the viewports, she could see human families disembarking. Children who could design battle strategies. Teachers who understood logistics. Artists who knew psychological warfare. 300 years of preparation. 50 million humans spread across 49 worlds. An entire species that had turned survival into an art form. "Director," she said, "I think our ultimate warriors are about to find out just how ultimate they really are." As the transmission ended, Elena continued to watch the stars. Somewhere out there the observers waited. And beyond them, perhaps, lay challenges that would make the Galactic Council look like a practice exercise. Humanity had spent 3 centuries becoming the most dangerous, species in known space, it was time to find out what lay beyond known space, and whether 300 years of preparation would be enough for whatever came next. In the depths of the station, human children attended their daily strategy lessons. Human adults continued their dual training in civilian and military specialties. Human ships moved through the galaxy, invisible and prepared for anything. The galaxy had learned to fear Earth's ultimate warriors. Soon, the universe might learn the same lesson. But first, humanity would have to prove that they truly were ready for whatever lay beyond the stars. The real test was just beginning.